Hello, this is teddygaming and welcome back to another review on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles tmnt The Last Ronin The Lost Years issue number 2. So with this issue, I was honestly quite surprised that I was able to get it so early, considering that with The Last Ronin, we had to wait like 4 or 5 months for another issue, so I'm quite surprised with this one. It only took like 2 months, so I'm honestly quite glad of that, and this issue was definitely worth the wait, and it was honestly really good. Not what I was expecting, as I was expecting a lot of action and stuff like that, but we really did get with a lot more adventure type story. I really did enjoy it, and just honestly I'd say that this always going in a unique place, I'd say, and I'm not too sure how they're gonna like spread this out over like another few issues, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, so to start the story off, we do get to see the turtles, or the new turtles, doing some training, and with that I mean actually like mopping up the place, and only he's broken glass, and he asks all the other turtles if they can help him, but all the other turtles says no, but they have to do their own bit because Casey said they'd do their bit. So Casey comes down and tells them all the story. And this is when we do get to see Casey tells a story, and we do get to see a flashback, and I was honestly quite surprised that we do get to see this flashback in the art style of Ben Bishop, and I must admit I did absolutely enjoy it. So in this flashback we do get to see the Turtles and Casey going on a mission to take down the Foot Clan, but that's when Casey sees another mugger and is about to do something to a lady, and Casey goes on and actually betrays the mission and goes to help the lady, and the Turtles decide to go help Casey, and that's more or less when they realise basically them helping the lady sort of like did ruin their chance at actually successfully doing the mission, but was able to do it in the end. And that's more or less where we do end this little story off, and I was also quite disappointed just because, again with the last issue, this is the most interesting part about the issue and it's only reduced to a couple of pages. I want more of this. And I will say that with this bit here, even though it's like really interesting for me, I would honestly prefer this to be like a more of an ongoing type series type thing with the young turtles, or at the very least have a bit more of a focus on this section and do more with these young turtles. As far as though that it's going to be a really interesting part about this story, and with them just more or less doing like 4 or 5 pages per issue, and then going into Last Ronin number 2, and then having the turtles as the main characters. I don't know, I feel as though there's not going to be that much development there, but at the same time we don't really know what's going to happen in the next couple of issues, so I'll leave all judgment until then, but I would prefer a lot more focus on these new turtles. Okay, now with the actual main story itself, I did say that this was more adventure type story, and I do really mean that. So in the first couple of pages with the Last Ronin, or Mikey, you do get to see him just travelling across Asia, I'd say, and he just goes into the woods to try and run and hide type thing. And you also get the turtles talking to him, and I feel as though that this is honestly a really interesting concept, I'd say, with Mikey seeing his dead brothers. And I was honestly quite surprised with like the interactions between the two, just because even though like they do interact, you don't really get to see them interacting all too much in this issue, which I was somewhat disappointed, just because I would have liked to see like Mikey's like first interaction with his brothers after he found out about their sort of existence type thing. But instead we just go from that little scene there from the last issue to this one like 3 years later. So I would prefer like some little context between that, and I do think that it could have been quite interesting to see how Mikey would have reacted to all of it, but we don't, so somewhat disappointed by that. But either way, we do get to see that Mikey just walking I think he travels through night, but then he like sleeps through the day, and just see him like traveling across Asia and stuff like that. And I do think this is really interesting. And we do get to see him go across all different places. He goes on a train, he goes on a boat, he attacks people, and I do find that all this stuff in here I do think is really interesting, and stuff which I would have liked to see a little bit more, or at the very least like seeing a bit more interactions between the turtles, as I feel as though that this is probably the more interesting parts about it. But shame we didn't get to see more of it, but at least we got something out of it. Now for the next part, we do get to see Mikey do a new training session with a new master who actually taught Master Splinter, and I thought that this part was really interesting, and even though it was like quite short and simple, I feel as though that it worked really well. We're just going to see like Mikey train up, and something which I didn't really think about like would happen in this like series, as I would have thought Mikey would just be already trained enough to actually go on and fight Oroku, but I guess I was wrong. But either way, I do think that this is really interesting, and I feel as though having the new character in here was really great. I do feel as though that this little section here was a bit too short, as well as though that there was definitely parts in here that they could have really expanded upon, and feels though that there's certain work and it feels though that there were certain elements of this that I feel as though could have been explored quite a bit more, just because there's like one section where like the training with weapons, and feels though they could have done something there with like Mikey training with his brother's weapons. I feel as though that there were potential bits here, if they were to have more time, they could expand upon and do a bit more emotional type things and stuff like that, but I do guess with what we did get, it was quite good. But I feel as though that if they would have more pages, we could have seen a lot more like emotional side of things, which I think was something which I think was sort of missing in this issue. So then going into the final bit of the actual main story, we did get to see Mikey, I think it's in Asia, I'm not too sure, just because he travels all across Asia and stuff like that, and there's a lot of different places he goes to, so I'm untoo sure about what country he's in right now, not to mention the fact that some of these places that he's in I can't actually pronounce, so he's in an Asian country. Oh, that's pretty much all I know. I think he might be in China, I want to say, but again, I'm not exactly too sure. But as in here, we do get to see Mikey just wandering around the streets, and I must admit, it's somewhat a bit weird seeing Mikey in this state where he is somewhat homeless, and we do get to see him just laying in the streets, starving and stuff like that, which is something which I didn't really think we would see, but I must admit, it's a really interesting concept. And I think that really took me by surprise with the fact that Mikey actually sold away some of his stuff to actually get some food inside of him. And I was honestly quite surprised by this, just because I didn't think Mikey would go this far to, I mean, I know that he's starving and all, but I wouldn't think that he would actually give away some of his brother's items and stuff like that. So I did think that was like a really interesting thing. And then in saying that, we do get to see Mikey actually interact with one of Death Worm's like thugs, and then that turns into a whole big bar brawl. And I do think that this scene here, it was okay. I don't think there's any big spectacle about it, which I do think that was somewhat a bit disappointing, but I do think that overall this fight was pretty cool, like very short, simple and straight to the point, which was just great. And then we do get a really cool scene with Mikey just having a glass bottle broken, and says that he's going to like take out the guy's eye if he doesn't like, give him answers, which I was very surprised that Mikey would actually even go that far to do something like that, which I was very surprised at, but I must admit I did really enjoy that. And then after that, we do get to see Mikey and the Turtles drive off to Mongolia to go fight Death Worm. Now, I do think that overall this issue was really great. There's a lot of great things in this issue, and I did really enjoy the adventurous aspects about this issue. And I would say that the biggest downfall for this issue, I would say there's two main things. One, they didn't really give him enough time for like the emotional aspects of it. As you could definitely tell this in the training scene, I've also that there was definitely room to basically improve upon that and actually expand upon some emotional scenes there. And I do think that also like with my other point, which I do think that was some of a letdown, was the fact that I didn't like show enough interactions with the Turtles and Mikey. I feel as though that there was like a lot of potential there to really show like Mikey's interaction with these Turtles, how emotional it is. I feel as though there was something there that they could have done, but they just didn't. And that's pretty much my only gripes with this issue so far. But overall, I did really enjoy this one, and like how it's like really moving at a fast pace in a way, and it's just doing a really great job at trying to do what it's supposed to be doing, and I can't complain all too much. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. If you do something, please share, like, subscribe and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.